Meddy! I straighten at the sound of my name, doing my best to look attentive. The effort is entirely wasted on my mother. Her dark, glittering eyes are already fixed on me and narrowed with familiar disapproval. "You aren't paying attention," she accuses. "Do it again." I stifle a whine as she ushers me, none too gently, to the center of our veranda. Once I am in the correct stance, she claps. "Begin." A slave seated nearby on a wooden stool starts to pluck a short-necked lute, filling the warm morning air with a sweet melody. On cue, I pivot, raising my arms and clapping in time with the music while attempting to ignore the stiff ache in my biceps. I focus on the heady scent of flowers in the distance, on the hard press of the tile against the ball of my foot. I try to lose myself in the song's rhythm, and when I close my eyes, I pretend I'm somewhere else. Anywhere else. Barely a minute passes before my mother tuts. The music halts. "Stop grimacing," she says irritably. "You're moving like you're in pain." "I am in pain," I mutter. "I've done this dance 100 times. My mother remains unmoved. "You'll do it 100 more times if that's what it takes," she warns. "You must be perfect. The gods gracing our halls will expect nothing less." This is a reminder I do not need. Tomorrow night, my parents will host a feast under the guise of celebrating the start of spring, but I've spent enough time watching the political games of gods to understand the real reason for the occasion. My sisters and I are now all of age, which means it is time to see us made useful. For my parents, this means married. "The gods of the sea court won't be the only ones in attendance." My mother speaks as though she were privy to my thoughts. "There may very well be potential suitors present, men of high and noble birth in search of a young bride. It's all the more reason for you to be at your best." "Do any of these men of high and noble birth come from an interesting place?" I ask. My mother assesses me anew, suspicious. "They could. Do you suppose any of them might bring anything interesting with him? Like maps or scrolls from his homeland? I'd love something new to read." As soon as the words leave my mouth, I know they are a mistake. A young male slave sweeping at the other end of the veranda shakes his head, visibly amused. The two female slaves flanking my mother with sunshades exchange looks of uncertainty. "Of course not," my mother snaps. "And I don't want to hear another word about maps, scrolls, or any other nonsense. Start again." I return to the dance's first position and wait for the lute player to resume. This time, I stumble as I pivot, then trip on the hem of my tunic. Behind me, there's a poorly disguised snort from one of my sisters. A tingling heat that has nothing to do with the sun overhead creeps up my neck. "You're not trying hard enough," my mother scolds. "Each step should appear light, effortless. I want you to try to move with more grace, like—" She catches herself, but I finish her sentence in my mind. "Like Steno and Euryale." I turn to look at my older sisters, not far off, reclined on chaises in the sunlight. Plenty of goddesses, our own mother included, prefer to manipulate their appearances so as to seem ever young. But my sisters truly are 21 and 19, only a few years older than me. Steno is like a gazelle, tall, supple, and fine-featured. Euryale is of a more petite build, but she has inherited our mother's round cheeks and dimpled smile. I don't like to imagine how I look when I stand next to them. My sisters and I share the same dark, sun-blazed skin. We all favor our parents, but there our similarities end. At 17, I'm still skinny, devoid of any feminine softness about my hips, and I once overheard a slave call my wide-set brown eyes owlish. I sigh. In these moments, I feel like a common moth trying in vain to pass for a butterfly. A well-worn sense of defeat settles over me.